Yeah, he had breakfast. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started then. Welcome to the second tutor training of the spring semester. And this training, a lot of it is about any issues that you may have had or questions that might have come up that you didn't know how to deal with something or what to do. So be thinking about those kinds of things. We're going to address a lot of that specifically later on. But for now, I will turn it over to Ms. Paula, and she will take us through our festivities this evening.
All right, welcome. I'm so happy to see you, and hopefully we'll get some other people kind of, sliding in as we go. For the people who didn't hear right off the bat, I want you to be thinking of a goal or something that you have that you want to do in your life. You haven't reached it yet, you haven't mastered it yet, and maybe the opportunity is not there yet, but something that you want to do, and then we're going to do charades, and everybody else can guess what you're acting out, okay? Okay, but until then, see, what did I do with my paper? Leanna, did I
don't have any papers over here.
Did I give you the schedule?
No, I don't have one.
I thought I had a schedule down here. Yes.
You know who all we're missing at this point?
I don't know. Brad probably has a list of the people who are missing, but I don't have one.
I'll go look for next week.
What did I do with it? I thought I had it in this folder. Okay, it doesn't matter because I kind of know what we're wanting to do. First of all, does anybody remember this?
The keys to retention.
Yes, key to learning. We review this every single time. Does anybody remember what it stands for?
Retrieve and
We have what?
repetition.
Repetition.
Retrieve. So
Recollection,
Retrieve. Retention equals what?
attention.
Retention, yes. We do repetition and retrieval, or retrieving information equals retention. Okay, so anybody in here that's been tutoring, give me an example of when you use that.
When a student is doing a math problem,
Okay, and how do you use that in a math problem?
they ask me, how do I do this? I said, do you have your notes? Do you have a book?
Okay,
And if they have it, they pull it out and I say, okay, go to the lesson you're at and look for an example.
oh, good, yeah, so then they have to retrieve, they have to even retrieve where they have to go to get that information. Then they have to try to retrieve what that information is, and you're repeating it, so they're doing it over and over again. Good, anybody else use any techniques?
Just like if I had a girl came in and she had a lot of the same questions, and so they're all different but not very different. And so we went through the first one together, and then I had her walk me through the second one. I said, do you remember how we did this on the last one? And I had her tell me what to do.
Good, yeah, if you can have them speak. And I can't remember which one of the tutors was overseeing it. Might have been you, Karina. Last night I watched, there was the tutor had given the instruction. And so the kids, the 2Ds were working it out. And then I saw one of the 2Ds demonstrating that to one of the other guys. So he was actually demonstrating it. So I'm sure the tutor had done her demonstration. Then he had, paid attention and learned how to do it. Then he was repeating it to the other student. So yes, if you can get them to repeat to the other student. Thank you. Did you see what happened to the stack of these? Were they up there?
I just saw one, sorry.
Okay, well, there's a stack somewhere. That's all right, don't worry about it. It's okay. Okay, so, and there's not enough on here for me to get too confused. So yeah, so that if we can do that, if we can have them repeat it. And one of the things that I always do in biology is I would get up and on cell replication or just the cell parts or protein synthesis. I would draw it up there on the board for them. Then I would erase it. And the one that I knew had it or had most of it, I would tell them to go up and draw it and explain it. Then they would erase it. And I would watch as I was doing that to see which one I could tell was picking it up, and I would pick the next one. Okay, now you go up and you teach it. And then I would say the person who was struggling the very, very most to last because he has been through it like maybe 5 or 6 times already. And then by the time he goes up, he pretty much has it because he's seen it so many times. And he knows that he's gonna have to repeat it. So anything that you can do, especially when you're working with people who are athletes, and I know a lot of people in here are athletes, so you can probably relate to it. The more that you can get them physically involved, and I know it's not easy upstairs, and eventually we might even be able to move downstairs, but if you can get them up, moving, gross motor movement, writing on the board, drawing on the board, making sure that they have that tactile in their hand function, because most of them are not going to remember if they just watch you do it. They will remember very little of it. But I want to just really thank you guys for everything that you're doing, and I think the approach that we're taking as academic trainers is working. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like they've responded well to that? I think so too. I think they're much more open to come to you when we break it down and say you're an academic trainer instead of tutor. I think tutor to them means they're slow. Trainer means, yeah, you've got some skills that you can teach me to improve my game. And I was so impressed, so impressed with Coach Dallas the other night. He was talking to me and he said their GPA, the average GPA is up 275. And to go D1, the athletes have to be at 2.5. So I don't know that we've, in my lifetime, have heard of the football players at 2.75. So to me, I really believe that the effort that you guys are putting in, the hard work that you're doing, working with them in the math lab and outside the math lab at the front desk is really impacting their grades and really making a difference. And I see that they're responding really well. I had a very interesting discussion with one of the young men. I've had about 5 who refused to work with you guys. They were like, no, I'm not working with the tutor, I'm not working with the tutor. And so, and they wouldn't give me a really clear-cut answer, but the other night I said, could you just please go with one of the tutors and work with her tonight? And he said, and he stood up and he looked. And I said, if you don't want to work with one of the tutors here, go to the front desk and work with one of the tutors up there. Or, work with Noel. And he said, no, I can't go up there. I can't work with these tutors. And I said, why? And he said, because I can't really work with cute girls well, because I'm too shy to talk to them. So I said, so if I hired like really homely tutors, you'd be better. Like, yeah, I could do it. So I thought this hurdle is not something that's easily to get over. He said, I've just never been able to talk to cute girls before. So Brad has hired what? 2 guy tutors, and I can tell you that they're coming around now. I think they feel more comfortable. And I said, one of my goals is going to get you to be able to talk to cute girls. I said, it's not going to hurt you across the board to be able to talk to cute girls. And he agreed, but I don't know that he's done it yet. So I was really pleased about that, about being able to say that their GPA is up. And I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. I'm so excited about everything that you're doing. And so let's get started with our charades. Who would like to go first? Okay, Tori, she said she got it. Let's see if we can guess what Tori wants to do.
Anything, right?
Yeah, anything.
Juggling.
Ah, very good. She wants to learn how to juggle. Okay. Tori, choose someone to come second.
Karina.
Karina, you get to come second.
Very specifically in the chair.
Be careful.
Yeah, this is how I pictured it, right?
Making taffy.
No.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you want to fly an airplane.
No. I mean, it's like tacky, I guess. I don't think you're gonna guess it.
Why did you
I'm
choose
playing with a carbon chain.
Oh, yeah, that was gonna be.
Yeah. So that's how I like wanted to become a like chemist and chemical engineer, because I saw someone sitting there playing with the carbon chain. Yeah.
Oh.
So I said, well, I want to do that.
Very good. We wouldn't have guessed that. Kathy, as close as we got. Okay, Karina, choose someone else.
I guess I could use a chair also, but. Yeah. I learned those later, but.
So you're wanting to learn that skill again? Very good. Okay, who else do you want to choose?
Sorry, I don't know people's names.
Jasper.
Sorry, the trainer.
keyboard, computer?
Coding.
No.
Coding video games.
Coding for video games, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay.
I'm not really going into game design, but I wanna make a small thing sometime.
No. Okay, I don't know if you guys are gonna guess it, but.
Plane,
What?
drive a plane or ride a plane?
Kind of.
I thought about that.
Yes. It is.
Oh,
It is, yeah.
Oh, you skydiving?
Just jump in the air.
Oh, boy. Okay.
That one's scary. So make it my turn. I don't really know how to do it. Swing dance? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Tori was gonna get that one.
I know the beginning of it.
If you want swing dance lessons, Tori
I was
is.
thinking about weddings and I don't know how. I
Oh.
need Ben. It was all Ben. I was just the one twirling.
Oh, yeah, you did phenomenal. Last year, we had a tutor party at the end of the year. Jasper, you were there. You remember Tori and Ben? And we put all the chairs back and everybody was dancing. And they were really dancing. I think a lot of us were just kind of moving. But yeah, I was really impressed. Okay, so we got through that and.
Paula, you don't have anything?
No,
you don't have
Oh, okay, well, let me try to think of something. Something I don't know how to do. But I want to, okay, I know something. Okay, now it's gonna take,
butter.
it's gonna take a bit. It's gonna take a
Make
bit.
cheese?
Soap? Okay.
Not churning butter.
You got it. Yes, I wanna learn how to make soap. Oh, yeah, you are so good. Okay, Leanna, do you have something?
Going somewhere.
Travel the world.
Fly a plane. Fly the plane.
Go under a bridge.
Oh, underwater.
Submarine.
Okay, do you want to go down under to Australia?
Yes.
Good deal. Okay, well, let's see, we have another speaker, he's supposed to be here, she's not quite here yet. So does anybody have anything that they would like to talk about that they have done that they feel like is a real accomplishment that they feel proud of, or that they've watched one of their students or one of the people that they've worked with accomplish?
Seeing them get good grades, that's always good to hear.
Okay, when somebody comes back, so give me, you don't have to give a name, but give me a person that you've worked with. Tell about the student.
So I only tutor anatomy, but whenever like you study twice a week, every week, and then they go take a test and they let you know they got an A.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really good to hear.
It really is. Because sometimes they come in very low.
Yeah,
And then when you see them going from, you know, like maybe a D to a C.
Or just going up from previous grades.
Yeah, because that's such a thrill. Anybody else have some particular situation that they were really happy with, or it made you realize this is why I'm doing this?
I had a student once, so I've had a few students where after I explain something to them, after they haven't quite gotten it, they look at me and they go, wow, someone finally explained it to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like you see the light bulb go on.
Mhm.
It just does make you so happy, doesn't it?
I've
Okay,
had some instances like that. That makes me happy too, like, okay, we're doing something.
yeah, you're getting it. And you know what, anybody else have something? And well, have you been working long enough to?
One of the foreign exchange students comes in a lot, and for one of his assignments, like I was kind of having trouble understanding because it was a computer-based assignment, and I was like, it's not my expertise exactly, but like I'll try and help. And he told me that he passed the assignment, and that was really good to hear because he was really worried about failing it.
Yeah. And that does put a whole different level when you have somebody who's struggling in a class, and then there's the language barrier too. That really makes it even more difficult sometimes, but one thing, and I know we don't, what language is it that he uses? What's his?
I'm not even sure.
Arabic, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. And so we don't really have anybody to really, you know, like, except if you get really stuck, you can always get Mo, because I've had to go get Mo before. I'm like, Mo, what's going on here? Because Mo can help. But we've got Karina and the other Karina. Do we have somebody else? Vicky was speaking Spanish. So they are a huge resource for Spanish speaking, you know, students. And Karina, can you tell about the situation you had last year with the lady that you worked with?
Oh, well, she was taking a Microsoft Word class, and all of her assignments came out of this big book like this, and she just kind of followed the directions on there, and she couldn't quite figure out what it said, so she couldn't do it, and she just struggled a lot, and so I kind of helped translate that for her and told her, okay, this is what this is asking for, and it helped her a lot.
Because the book was in English, right? And she doesn't speak.
She doesn't speak great English, but yeah, she can, you know, hold a conversation with someone.
Yeah, but it's a whole different ballgame, I think, conversational English than, you know, like the written English. And I can see that's the huge difference between last year when she was struggling through a class. I would see every day she was almost in tears. And now I see, because she's getting the help and the support that she needs, I think she's just flourishing. And you know, you can tell someday she's just about to pop. She's so happy. She's so excited about her classes. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing I love about this is when you see people that are really struggling and maybe not feeling like they're gonna make it, and they get just that little support. And sometimes, do you feel like that you're giving her, how much support are you giving her, you think?
I almost feel like a friend
Yeah.
because, you know, she's older. No one's gonna really go up to her and talk to her. So I feel like I became that friend for her that she can finally go to and, you know, talk to about college.
Yes, and I think she feels so much more relaxed now, so much more comfortable here. You can just see it in her mannerisms and everything about her. She just, because I think she used to walk in just feeling so stressed that you could tell she was about to cry just to walk in. It was like me going to the dentist office, like I don't want to go be here. And I think she kind of had that anxiety. And now she comes in and she's so much more relaxed, and she's, you know, looking around, stopping by, visiting. So I think that's what we can be to people too. We can be a friend. And I think sometimes just that friendship will help them relax enough that they can concentrate on their assignments when they are so full of anxiety and so full of fear. A lot of times it's real difficult for them to concentrate. And, you know, and then when they've got people, you know, saying, why are you even doing this? Or you shouldn't even be here. You know, sometimes they don't get a lot of positive feedback from other people. So if we can be that feedback for them, that's ideal. So anybody else have somebody that they've worked with?
It's nice watching them like become more independent too, like rely on you less and less like the longer you go in the year. So it's nice to know like that like once they don't have you anymore, that they like have a chance.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's, what if we said over and over and over, our job is to work ourselves out of the job? So that if we can get them to the point where they really don't need us, that's kind of a hard place to be, but that's really our job, is to work ourselves out of a job. And trust me, I had anxiety about that too. What if everybody leaves and I don't have anybody? But the thing is, there's always another group coming in, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, we have a young lady here today that wants to speak to you on her position here on campus. And if you'll remember back, I gave you some statistics about young African-American men, that if they have a relationship and they talk to their teacher just every once in a while, does anybody remember the percentage of them graduating junior college? 23%. 23% if they're working on their own and maybe just asking their teachers questions once in a while. What is it if they have a relationship and they go in and talk to their teacher quite a bit? Do you remember what it bounces up to? 27% of them will graduate junior college. What happens if they're connected with the teacher, with the tutors, with the resources on campus, and become acquainted with everything that's available on campus? Do you remember what the percentage is? 67%. So that's one of the things I think is so important for you, and that's what this workshop's about today, is for you to understand what resources are available and that you are a very valuable resource to the people that you're working with. So you are a valuable resource, but also you can be a resource for other people. And this is Melody Wagler, and she's just come on board here at Community College, and she's got some information about her role. And she's over in the student union, right?
Yeah.
And she kind of has a mental health background, so she's a great resource. Melody?
Hi. Well, I'm not, don't have anything super fancy prepared, and I don't know even how much time will take up, so there's that. But I do want to share with you a little bit about some of the resources, and at least one of you will kind of know. So this is something. Actually, I'll just let you pass around the whole stack and we'll put plenty left over. I think I already sent Paula that document in an electronic form. It's actually much more handy in an electronic form because you can click on most of the things in there, go to the website, and that'll be really helpful as far as giving you access to that. So this was a document that they had already created at the Student Success Center. The Student Success Center is all about offering resources to students. But I went through all of this as a social worker. Something that is really, really important to me is calling up. Anytime I give a referral, I want to call them up. What is the eligibility process? How do people access? What can I tell people when I refer them to you? So that's what I did for all of those resources on there, and I updated that and went through that. So it's much handier electronically, which I sent to Paula, and she may well send out to you. So there's that. As a social worker, so how many of you, what are some things that social workers do? How many of you kind of know a lot about social workers? What's the thing that a social worker does?
They connect foster kids with other resources and possibly foster parents.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Social workers do many different roles in many different places. One of the things I hear a lot is social workers will steal babies, right? And there's that background too, where some people have had negative experiences with social workers, and that happens. But right, our goal is always to help people. So this is giving resources. One of the things I get to do here is share resources, whether So some of the people you might talk with, maybe they're having really high anxiety about classes and are feeling pretty overwhelmed. That's really normal. How many of us know what that's like here in college, right? Right? Absolutely know what that's like. So whether it's hooking them up with the counseling services over in the Student Success Center, or figuring out, do we need to, maybe we need to make a doctor's appointments for some of those types of things. So getting connected with resources is a really good, absolutely, right? Help with foster, stuff like that. There are social workers in almost every facet of life, and I think we can help in any place we're at. And I think education is a really, really great use for social workers. So there's that. Those are some resources that we share. If anybody has issues with housing, one of the things I'll do a lot is process with people. So of course here we don't, we have the dorms, but that's not something that we can just give, but let's process how we can access the different routes. Let's spend time together figuring things out. And then I might make referrals to other places and I might be on the phone. So of course I won't share information, but like what does your eligibility look like to access the resource you have? So anytime you're talking with somebody who has some needs, just keep in the back of your head that maybe social work would be a really good place to hook them up with resources. So they can, as far as accessing what I have to offer, they can call me anytime they have questions, and then Michelle Wortham is kind of our main schedule over there, and that's on the bottom of that sheet. They can call and set up appointments with her. So there's that. I also I just started again, it's something that used to happen a while ago, but I just started a group, and you've probably seen the flyers, I'll let you pass it around. Just started a group, in case you know anybody that's interested. It's instead of a counseling group, I would call it more of a psychoeducation group. So counseling would be more in depth. I like to describe it kind of as unpacking our luggage, whereas psychoeducation is more learning how to carry our luggage, if that makes sense. So counseling would be more in depth, psychoeducation group, not as in depth, but it's also a lot of fun. So if you know anybody who's dealing with any of those things, you can absolutely refer them to that group. I enjoy running groups. So my history comes from Horizons Mental Health Center. I've been there for over 4 years, and I did groups there. My very favorite group that I ran was anger management. Loved that a lot. It was a lot of fun. So I kind of enjoy groups quite a bit. So there's something that we just recently started offering since I came over at Student Services. And I think those are the main hats I wear. Oh, sometimes this is another fun part of my job. I'll check in on quarantining students. And I do want to pass this around. I don't have this flyer finalized, so I'm not going to leave it here. But it is, I want to give you the dates just so you all know about that. We will have Beth Akins from Horizons Mental Health Center coming and giving a suicide talk at the end of this month. And then also sharing the ripple effect, which is the screening about Kevin Hines. Does anybody know the ripple effect? Okay. Kevin Hines, who attempted suicide, he actually jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, but fortunately survived. He'll be sharing, or he has a movie about his story, and that's the ripple effect. So we'll be doing that twice on the 4th of March. So those are a couple of things that I'm doing, having a lot of fun doing that. I also do, so There are 4 counselors over at Student Services, and I'm one of them. Have some fun doing sand tray therapy. Anybody know about sand tray therapy? What that's like? So you literally play in a sand tray, but you have all these kind of cool little things that you'll put in the sand tray. You might do things like, what does your life look like? Would be kind of the beginning thing. But you get to play with little, toys, but they're miniatures that you put in a sand tray. So that's something I kind of geek out about. So, any questions? Is there anything else you wanted me to talk about?
Now, could you just kind of go more in detail of what you see is available on campus as resources, especially like in your department?
So in our department, we offer advising services. We have really, really great advisors. I know you all are connected with your advisors, but the advisors over in student services are really great. They want to be very connected in what's going on with you. They are great advocates for you. So there's that. There's also career counseling. DJ over there is excellent. If you have, right, we've all had questions. What am I going to do? And DJ is really good with, he does the Myers-Briggs and can kind of help you process like what would be a good fit for you. And then we also have accessibility with Lisa Jolliffe. She's excellent. By the way, is Lisa going to come share?
She didn't get back with me, so as much as you want to share about Lisa would be great.
So this is something I felt a little silly that I didn't notice, and I've been here for a couple months. I just asked her recently. I was like, so Lisa, what can you do if somebody has depression or anxiety that is affecting their schooling? So sometimes when you think accessibility, you think disabilities, but what can you do when it's depression or anxiety or those types of things that we know are really common? And she said, as long as it's something that's documented, that's affecting our schooling, that is something that she can develop a plan with you and work on accommodations for that. So absolutely love that. Take advantage of that. If you know anybody who would have that or could use that, absolutely recommend Lisa, because she's really great. She works on a plan. She'll get that out to instructors, and they can then they follow the plan that they've set up. So there's that, and then of course social work services, which is what I do, and kind of hunting down different supports for people. Sometimes just walking through that process as we do some of that together. Instead of just giving phone numbers and sending you on your way, we might do that together.
Okay, so you said housing is one of the things that you work with. What are some of the other things that they can come to you about?
So if you come and you say, I need help, I don't always have enough to eat, we're gonna process there what we could do. A long-term plan with that, I hope to someday have more of the food bank on campus, and I know we've talked about that a little bit too. But we'll process how do you access that. So that would be one thing. And sometimes these things can feel kind of piecemeal, but maybe we're having financial straits. So we might also talk about first call for help and how you access the supports that they offer. They'll give you hygiene products and different household products once a month. So there's something, it might not be much of a chunk, but it'll help a little bit. And then of course, if you have a parent who's got some young kids, maybe we can get you connected with Head Start. If we've got financial issues and we've got children who might fall in the eligibility of Head Start. So different things that you can address. Trying to think of some other things some other supports that I've helped with recently. Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Like I have a lot of students come to me and say they are strapped, that they don't have money. Do you ever help them find like a part-time job or find employment or anything like that?
So what I would do is process what the resources are. So absolutely, like that's a huge need and it's really, really important. I am often gonna refer you on to the professionals who are really good with that. So like over at Kansas Works, I know Celeste over there is excellent with helping people get set up. So I'm not gonna necessarily do as well at finding someone a job as Celeste will, and she'll do a really, really awesome job at that. So I might say, so maybe while we're in the office, like, how do you feel about going over and seeing Celeste? And we might call Celeste up and say, hey, can you get this person in for an appointment? Which, by the way, instead of just walking into Kansas Works, does anybody know where Kansas Works is at? It's kind of next door. So just past the Shears Technology Center. Has anybody seen the fancy, nice building just past Shears? So that's where Kansas Works is at.
Is that called Office Technologies, or is the building just called Kansas Works?
It's, I think it's Kansas Works. Now I don't have my phone on me, but I could look it up. But it's Kansas Workforce or something like that. And I might have used the wrong terminology, but yeah, it's right next door. And that you can get an appointment. So don't necessarily walk in, but you can get an appointment and somebody will help you find a job. Of course, we have part-time student jobs here, but those are not always available throughout the semester super much. But yeah, there's resources. There are resources available, and that would be the type of stuff we would process. But I also might, here's a professional who's going to do a really good job of helping you and do as much as possible about getting that soft handoff to them. Because it can be an intimidating thing to do some of that, looking for resources on our own. So make it as accessible as possible. Any other questions that you have?
I have a question. Okay, you said you have counseling available up there. I'm still wondering, do we have a Title IX person that we can contact on campus yet?
So VP Bright is the Title IX coordinator. The phone number, and of course you can call his phone number, and I think it's also listed to call Michelle and make sure that VP Bright gets the message too. But yeah, it's not me. VP Bright is the coordinator for Title IX. But yes, that is a really important resource as far as if you need to report harassing, sexual assault, those types of things. It's really important to know about Title IX.
And how many social workers do we have on campus now?
So there's just me. There's, by the way, if you know anybody who's a licensed social worker, you might send them over here. I know they're still looking. So I was hired with COVID funds. They actually, with those funds, they have place for 2 social workers. So they're still looking for another one. And I think I'm kind of okay to work with. So if you know anybody, you can send them over to the college. So just so far it's just me.
Oh, okay.
But yes, and I don't know if that's helpful to know. I have some letters behind my name, but basically it just means that I worked a couple of years with supervision after I got my master's in social worker, and now I'm a licensed specialized clinical social worker because we like to have lots of letters in there as much as possible. So, any other
and didn't you say that you worked with substance abuse?
Yes, and I also have that. Licensed master's addictions counselor, and so, which also means studying and passing the test and licensing with the state of Kansas. Have worked with people with addictions issues at Horizons as well. So that's also a bargaining issue. And now we have somebody here with that licensure at the college, and I do love to work with people who have issues like that. Something like that is more, there's usually a core issue, not usually, there's a core issue behind having an addiction issue that needs to be dealt with rather than just the addiction. So, yeah, kind of fun stuff I get to do.
So I know that on the HCC website, there is somewhere you can go to report something that is anonymous. You know, if something were to happen and you don't want your name to be out there, you can still report it. But how do I get there?
That's a good question. Are you talking about the Title IX stuff?
I don't know. There was a situation where, you know, something was brought up to Michelle and she said, you can, you know, go here and then it, you know, you send out like an email and it goes to VP Bright or I don't know, but
Okay.
it was anonymous.
Yeah. See, now I don't know about that, honestly. And that would be really, really good stuff to know about, but I don't know about that. I'm guessing that's Title IX
What is
stuff. So Title IX, if there's ever, so like sexual assault or harassment type things, you can report it. And it's a recent legislation. I don't know the whole history of Title IX, that's not my area. But it was very much created in response to some alarming things around sexual assault and different things like that. They created some legislation for that on campuses. I personally am not the guru on Title IX.
And by the way, I'm trying to bring it up here on the screen, but I did find, just doing a search on the hcc.edu website, we do have the, I don't know if I'm going to show it, but there's an anonymous report may be submitted through the TIPS reporting system. So if you just do a search for anonymous report or TIPS, you should be able to find this. And then it gives you this where you can select your location, talk about the incident and describe it, and it'll send it through anonymously.
So do you get there from where?
I just went to hutchcc.edu, the main Hutch website, and did a search.
Okay.
Yeah, so at the very top of the screen, there's that search box there.
Yeah.
Just type it in.
Okay. I wonder if there's another way, like I like the search option, but so if you go to where it ended up at the TIPS place.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That'd be, yeah, it was frequently asked questions was one of the spots.
Okay. Okay, I'm so glad you asked that because that's really important to know. Don't know that. That is really important to know.
There you go. Equity and compliance. You can probably get it through that web page as well. Here's the TIPS reporting portal. There's another link there, as well as a whole bunch of other site links for resources. So all sorts of things that you could offer to students if they come to you with something.
Yeah, no, I know I just haven't paid attention to the TIPS report, and I'm really glad you brought that up. We need to know how we can report those things. Any other excellent questions, people?
I have a question. Like, what if somebody's being harassed or discriminated against or feel that they're not being treated fairly, but it's not sexual? Where do they go for that complaint?
So I would probably still start with reporting it to Title IX, or at least ask if that's the place to report. That's what I personally would do. And then you might find out different information about the best person, but I don't really know. I don't really know that there's another system in place for reporting, unless it's like a security issue, and then of course there's a security officer.
Largely that would be equity and compliance.
Because I know in the past there were a couple of students that were being racially mistreated, and And that's where they went, was through Title IX.
Yeah,
At that time, I didn't know if that had changed.
yeah. I don't know of any other system, and just here since October, but I don't know of any other system, like that.
And Title IX and equity and compliance are generally handled by the same person. So, I mean,
Yeah,
so usually, and always, you know, Title IX kind of gets you to the right person with something like that, I'm sure. But Title IX, yeah, definitely deals specifically with issues of sex and gender. And so it's designed mostly to make sure that women are treated fairly in the college and have every opportunity that men have. And so anytime that there's any sort of discrimination based on sex or gender, that's what Title IX really deals with. The 1972 Educational Opportunities Act, if anybody is really interested.
Isn't that when, well, I think that's back to my day because when I was thinking the other day, we've got so many wonderful female athletes in our group. And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity it is for you young ladies, because when I was in school, they didn't have that. There weren't female sports. Your job was to put on your pep club uniform and go sit at the game and cheer. And it was pretty much required. You had to be there whether you liked to be. You just had to be there and cheer the guys on. And so I remember when they started saying, no, females have a right to play sports too. I remember they let the girls dress up for one game and go to Medicine Lodge and play a game of basketball. They considered that.
And that's when Hutch started our women's basketball program and stuff like that. Recently, Tom Worthing, who was our first women's basketball coach here at Hutch, he passed away just last week.
Yeah. So you know, it just touches me all the time when I hear some of the young ladies that are doing such phenomenal things in the sports field, because it wasn't that long ago, it wasn't, available for young women to even participate other than cheer the guys on. So
things have changed.
yes, for the best, because we have a state champion here.
And a lot of major universities, Yale and Columbia and so on, didn't admit women until the 1970s. So, that act made a huge change. Women now make up about 60% of all college students, so.
See, well, and this is something I feel like I should really, haven't there been some recent changes though? You
There
were
have been
saying
some.
like 1970s, and I was like, I swear it was like.
President
more
Trump made
recent
some
than that.
changes to how Title IX was handled, and President Biden has changed it largely back to the way it was under the Obama administration. So yes, there have been recent changes, mostly in terms of the way investigations and trials, if you want to call them that, are handled underneath it, and the way, for instance, previously, if a woman brought a complaint of sexual harassment, for instance, or rape or something like that, she didn't need to be there during the trial, or at least her accuser wouldn't be there facing her during the trial. Trump changed it so that the accuser would be there during it. Biden has now changed that back so that wouldn't be the case anymore, so that women would feel a little more safe in offering their story during those times. Trump's logic on it was, and Betsy DeVos, who was the education secretary who oversaw it and put that change in place, their logic was that the right to fair trial and the right to representation meant that he should be there and be able to question her and that sort of thing. But for Biden and Obama, it was more important that women feel comfortable in telling their story. He would, would get the accused would get his chance to have his say, but not face to face with the person who accused him. So necessarily.
I might also add, I work with Melody in the office on the Student Success Center. She's a great resource, and if you come in, you're safe there. It's a really nice, safe place. We don't, everything that you say in there stays there. Nothing will go out. When you make appointments, we, might get to know you, might say your name, might say hi to you outside, but none of that information will go out. Anything we hear stays there, so it's very safe. And when you enter, on the right-hand side, we have pamphlets. So talks about like pregnancy, if you get pregnant and you need help, drug abuse, I mean, just all kinds of things, STDs. So if you don't want to necessarily speak to someone, you still have those resources, you know, on paper.
Thank you. Seriously, you should have, you could have had her do my job, really. But yes, no, it is. And that's really, really important stuff, knowing it's confidential. And we do our hardest to make it a safe place. And there are a whole lot of other resources. You know, in the times of COVID, we're dealing with grieving a lot. We have grieving pamphlets. And somebody can talk with you about those things. We do crisis check-ins as well. If you know of somebody who's having a little bit of a crisis in the moment, you can send them our way. And we can be there to support through that as well. So yeah. I have the most fun job on campus, so just saying, if you know of anybody who needs our supports, if you need any support, we are there, and that's what I love about what I do. So get to offer support to people. That's kind of, you know, social workers do a lot of different things, but maybe number one, we get to offer support, and that's our job title.
I've got a quick question. I've had several young men tell me they don't have coats. They came from Florida and Louisiana with windbreakers, thinking they had coats. Do we have anything like that available, or can we get something to help them?
So there are numerous resources in town, and we don't have anything here specifically. And there's a little bit of logistics with that. Might be worth looking into, I don't know, but absolutely, like there are places I would make sure, like, so the soup kitchen has free clothes. There is First Call for Help will give you vouchers for warm clothing and a blanket, stuff like that. Like there's so much free stuff like that around town. I don't know if and that's something to think about, like, if we create a system here or not, but there are supports around town, and I know sometimes that's hard to get to, but that would be something I would process with the individual person, like, do you need support to get to a place, or what is it that you need with that? But there are absolutely free clothing is, if that's a need in Hutch, there's supports, so.
Do you have like a business card that we could process?
I didn't bring that, I'm sorry, I was gonna bring that. I'm a forgetful social worker, so when a new social worker comes and you want a social worker who is not forgetful, just say you want that social worker who's not forgetful, but it's me if you want a forgetful social worker. And I forgot to bring my card. I can send it over to you if you want.
Yeah, we'll make it, Trevor, you can just mail it over or something, and we'll keep them at the front desk.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think we have at least a couple of your cards at the front desk in the drawer, the top drawer.
Hey, look at, yes. So, but yes, yeah, if you ever need to see me, just tell somebody you want the forgetful social worker and I'll send you right after, so.
Her extension is 333.
Yes.
It's just 333.
Yeah. See, they gave me the one that was easy to remember. They were like, you're gonna do that one. So now I have 3333. I can remember that. Okay, any other questions?
Here's your papers.
Oh, thank you. I'll try not to forget that. This one.
There's this.
Okay, yeah, so the group, so the group is starting, you can see the dates when we're starting the different segments on here. If you know anybody who's dealing with these issues, absolutely send them our way. It's a lot of fun.
I might have another question.
Yeah.
Let's say we get the student the resources they need at a different facility, and what would you do if they don't have a vehicle to get there?
So that really depends on the student. So I would process, is there a way, so they have a resource, but is there a way to either get them over there And this is another great resource, right? In Hutch, how many of you have ever ridden on the bus in Hutch? Anybody have done that? I never have either, and I really want to. In Lawrence, I loved, when I lived in Lawrence, going to KU, getting my social work stuff. I loved riding the bus, and it was a great resource. But maybe if there's a vehicle issue, one of the things, problem solve, would you feel comfortable riding the bus, right? And that's another, getting somebody, it can be really empowering too, to give them these resources like the bus system that they can become comfortable with. Do we need to get you a ticket? That type of stuff. So we'll figure it out.
Stuff just off of campus, over by workforce development. So you can send somebody over there to get on a bus. Plus, if you're on a bus route and you see a bus coming, all you have to do is stand by the curb and wait, and they'll stop.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think if you.
Have you ridden a bus?
I haven't
In
ridden it,
Hutch?
no.
See, I want to. I really want
I've
to.
helped a lot of people get onto the bus, but I have never ridden it myself.
Yeah, I loved it in Lawrence. It's so much fun.
And I think if you have your student pass, it's only 50 cents. 50 cents one way, so the other way. If you have your student, but they have to have your student pass.
Yeah, so I will give you 50 cents if you, oh, no, well, but you know, it's a great resource. It really, really is. And you know,
At the front desk, we actually have copies of the bus route, so you can hand those out to people if they're asking about that.
yeah, so. Do you think if I showed my employee ID, would they do 50? No. I'm here for it. Okay, any other, thank you. Those are some great questions. Anything else? Okay.
I think that's it. Well, thank you so much for coming over, and I'm sure we're going to be getting in touch with you for different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Brad, are we ready for snacks? So we can head upstairs and get a snack, and then we'll have another speaker about the time we get things with it.
The snack shop's the coffee shop.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Sure. Sure, I forgot a lot of things, I think, because I don't forget things,
But I think it was.
yeah.
We're not too.
You can minimize it.
What? Setting goals? We are going to be talking about setting goals today. Oh, yes. Exactly. That's when you get the feeling of sometimes when we have students, they're on display, they're trying to make a plan, they're trying to get you to understand where they're at or what they're wanting to do. And maybe their goals are kind of fuzzy, and that's kind of some of the things that we can help put them at ease, because they're having to put everything out on display for us. And help them maybe adjust some of the things that maybe what they're thinking they're wanting is maybe not what they need. We can help them clarify what it is they want, where they want to go. Well, we have our next speaker is Miss Carolyn Carson. How many people know her? She works over at the student union, and she is by far, I think, haven't you been here longer than any of the other advisors on campus?
Oh, sorry.
Aren't you like the senior advisor?
Yes.
She has been here for a long time, and so if you have any questions at all about advising, you can always go to her. She's a wonderful, wonderful resource. And so if you have any kind of questions, she's kind of my go-to person. She's really mentored me in a lot of different ways, because when coming here and coming on campus, dealing with a lot of athletes, there's a lot of things that they will take from her that they don't take well from me. And so there's times when I've gone to her, I'm like, well, how can I say this? Or this is what I want to do, or this is what I want to say. And I had two young men that I was just butting heads with day in and day out, over and over and over with different things. And then I just had to go get Carolyn. Carolyn, you got to tell them you're not paying attention to me. So she told them, and they were like, they took it right like that. And I just confronted them and said, like, now why is that when I can tell you for 6 months, this is what I want you to do, and you don't do it? And Carolyn tells you once, and you listen to her, and I'm like, let me suppose she's black. Okay, so I just thought she has a history, she has a reputation, she has insight,
She has a lot that I don't have. And she is the most loving, the most giving, the most willing person to support you in any way you can, because she loves the students and she wants the students to do well. And she loves all of her students. And I think she's so valuable on this campus. And so I've asked her today, because I think this is one of her specialties, to come and talk about setting goals. And you know, if you'll remember on the worksheet that I gave the people who are working with the athletes, we added something new in that I wanted you to have them set a goal for that night, whether it's finish chapter 2 or learn how to do slope or whatever it is. Start an outline for a paper, whatever it is, and then I want you to tell them to tell how much of it they completed that night. And I want them to have their writing on there, a commitment that they're making. So I thought that would tie in real close with what Ms. Carolyn had to talk about today. Okay.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Okay, you guys have to speak up. Come on now. Okay, all right. So this way you will see my face and you'll know what I look like. All right, so I'm gonna try that one more time. Oh, maybe I should cross the threshold. You think? Maybe that'll help. Maybe crossing the threshold might work. Well, hello. Hello. How's everybody doing? Good. Great. Good. Have you ever been in class? In a class, and it was so boring that if you had a gun, you would take it out and you would shoot yourself because you were in so much pain. Has that ever happened?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it has happened. So it's going to happen, but here's the deal. Think about this. If it has happened to you, you want to make sure you say to yourself, if I'm ever in a situation where I can impact people, I will make sure that I am not that boring person, because we know how it feels. It's terrible. It's painful. So you don't want to do that. You don't want the tutor to walk away from you and say, oh my God, that was the most boring person. And even though you're probably helping them, you have to come up with a way in which you can reach them so that they will remember you when they walk away from you. People don't care. I can come in here and I can tell you about all of the degrees that I have, about how many years I have worked at this institution, the individuals that I have mentored. Students don't care. Students don't care about any of that until they know what? That somebody said it. Who said it? Say it again.
That you can.
They need to know that you care about them. You have to be willing to create a positive relationship with people. Otherwise, they don't care what you have to say and they're not going to listen to you. So you do need to think about that. And the other thing, they don't care that you have ACT of 30. What is it? 30, 33, 35? The largest is what? 36. 36. They don't care you got 36. But they don't know, can you help me? Can you teach me? So please don't approach them by saying, oh, I had 36 on my ACT, really? They don't care. But they do want to know, can you help me? And if it's your job, then that is what you're supposed to do. So don't ever intimidate them by saying what your ACT score is. Oh, I'm a straight A student, really? Really, you could be, but you could be the most boring person in the world. So think about how you would want to be treated, and you want to make sure that you do that. So what I'm going to talk to you all about today is goal setting. Goal setting. But what I want to talk to you all about, the aspects of goal setting that we need to think about. So usually in my orientation class, when we talk about SMART goals, that's what we're going to talk about today, SMART goals. S-M-A-R-T, SMART goals. We'll talk about that today. did you all have that in your orientation class? Or maybe in high school, the SMART goals?
Yes.
Yes, good, wonderful, wonderful. SMART goals. Okay, do you all remember my name? I don't want you all to walk out and not remember. I'm Mrs. Parson. Okay, do you know why I prefer that you call me Mrs. Parson? What do you think? Why?
It's more respectful.
Yes, and I'm the age of probably your grandmother. So in my neck of the woods, I'm from Louisiana. Do you all hear a little bit of a Southern accent? A little bit? A little bit of Southern? Okay, yes. And I will have people say to me, well, don't you want to get rid of your Southern accent? No, I do not. Why? Why is it I wouldn't want to get rid of my Southern accent?
Because it's where you're from, it's where you grew up.
Say again.
It's where you're from and when you grew up.
It's who I am. So when you say to me, don't you want to get rid of your Southern accent? You're saying, I can't accept you for who you are, so I want to change you so that you can become who I want you to be. And no, I don't want to do that. So it's a good thing I haven't been in Louisiana because I would come in and it would be, how y'all doing today? And it would be rice and nice and all those things. Because it doesn't take me long when I go to Louisiana. It's almost like the minute we cross the Texas line, that all of a sudden it's all y'all and rice and nice, and I just go right back into it pretty easily. Okay, so we're going to talk about SMART goals. And you all know, what that is because you probably in high, are most of you freshmen or sophomores or what are they called?
Let's see, raise your hand if you're a freshman this year. Okay, and raise your hand if you are a sophomore.
Okay. Oh, so they're gonna be leading you.
Yes.
And hopefully they will be the ones who will then help train the other students.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And they're really good at it. They just, this is a fabulous group.
Good. All right, so let's talk about SMART goals. SMART goals. So I want you to think about yourself. And I know, and this is going to be applicable to when you are working with students also. So SMART goals. So a goal has to be specific. And you notice that I did say, how did I pronounce that? Did you hear the SP? How many times have you heard someone say what?
Pacific.
The ocean. And you know when they say Pacific, oh yeah, the Atlantic too. So specific. Okay. The goal has to be specific. Okay, so what do you think it means when we say the goal has to be specific?
Like saying how you're going to accomplish it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it has to be specific. So it means that you need to be thinking about what it is you want to do. So let's just say, so with it being specific, it's like what you want to achieve, why, and when. So very specific. So what you want to achieve, why, and when. Specific goal. So when you're thinking about your goal, so let's just think about this. So a goal. So someone just tell me what is a goal for you this semester? A goal. Anyone? A goal.
Pass physics with a B.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Pass physics with a B.
Okay, pass physics.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to pass that class with a grade of B. And there's a reason you want to pass that class with a B. Why is that?
Why?
Why do you want to pass that class with a B?
Because that's a really hard class. So if I get a B, I know I did my best.
Yes, okay, all right. And that's great. And others of you, what are some of your goals for this semester? Pass physics with a B. So hold on to that one. Okay, what else? A goal. A goal that you have for this semester. So all of you are in college. So your parents did not send you here for you to be unsuccessful. So You want to do what?
I want to get my associate's degree.
Okay, your associate's degree? And what is your major? Have you decided what major yet?
English education, but I'm just getting an associate's of arts here.
Okay, AA, okay. So, an AA degree. So we know that's going to equal 60 hours and at least, you know, your goal wouldn't be this, but to graduate from HCC, you have to graduate with at least 60 hours and at least a 2.0 cumulative GPA. But you always want it to be far above that. I would say, you know, at least a 3.0 or better. Because many prospective employers, when they look at your transcript, and granted, that's only one measure of who you are, but when they look at your transcript, they're going to be looking at your transcript to see what your GPA was. Now, a GPA only tells, truly the only thing that it tells is that you were persistent. You were persistent. It doesn't tell how smart you are. It simply tells that you were persistent. And what does that mean when we say persistent? That you do what? You tend to do what?
Try hard in classes.
Okay, you tend to try hard in your classes and you tend to do what else?
Your homework.
Do your homework?
Show up.
Mm-hmm. What else? What do you think?
Try again when you fail.
Say again, try again when you fail?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So what it means, your transcript truly, when some, Mrs. Paul?
No.
Oh, okay. It means when someone looks at your transcript, granted, only one measure of who you are. But what it tells them is that you were persistent. It means that you started something and you finished it. You started something and you finished it. It is much better for you to say, I have an AA degree than to say I have some hours. There's nothing wrong with having hours, but if you're saying I have some hours, it means you didn't complete it. You didn't finish. So when you have a job, what's important is that you start. Have you ever worked with a group and you all were working on a project and someone started stuff? So you all agreed what part each person was going to do. And then you meet again and you realize that maybe you were the only person that did anything. And then what are you going to have to do when you realize they haven't done their part? Well, what might you have to do?
You might have to make up what they didn't.
Absolutely. And do you like that? No, you don't like that at all. So what you want to do is make sure you are never that person. So whatever it is you have to do, or that you said you were going to do, you need to make sure you finish that. Make sure you finish it, because we all know how it feels when you're supposed to be working on a project and someone didn't do their part. It makes you angry, because now you've got to double up. Let's just say all of you are making the same amount of money. Now you've got to double up and do what? Do their job. And on payday, they get what? Same amount of money. It doesn't feel good when you have to do someone else's job. So your goal needs to be what you want to achieve, why you want to achieve it, and when. You have to think seriously about it. Seriously about it. Okay, the other thing, so it has to be specific and it has to be measurable. Can you measure it in some way? Can you measure it in some way? Can you quantify it in some way? Okay, so let's just say your goal would be, okay, so if your goal is to pass with a B, goal is to complete your AA degree. All right, so how can you measure this? You're gonna measure it with short-term goals. So a short-term goal would be what?
Like completing a homework assignment?
Yes, completing a homework assignment, like whatever it is you need to do for like a week or 2 weeks whatever something is due. Those are the short-term goals, something that you can complete in a week or two, okay? So you can measure that, so you'll know going into week 1, you didn't have a test or a quiz or anything like that, but going into week 2, you may have one. So after that test, you can measure, that test would be a measure of whether you are accomplishing what you said you were going to do. So that's another way of looking at it. So a way in which you can measure it. Okay, so then, so the A is attainable. And some research says it's action, they actually say it's action oriented. Okay, so action oriented, meaning that you're going to have to do what?
Actually do something.
You said it, something. You can't say, I'm going to get an A in the class. I'm gonna get a B, okay? She talked about a B. And then she just sits. Does nothing. Doesn't read. Just hoping and praying that she might get a B. That's not gonna happen. That's why we have tutoring. That's why we have the resources available to you on campus. It means you have to do something. I had a student in my class once that we were talking about quotes from our families. And I said, well, just tell me a quote that maybe that, and I want you all to think about this too. A quote that maybe you heard your parents say all your life. Some quote that you heard them say. And it didn't make any sense to you then, but now, as an adult, it is starting to make sense to you. Starting to make sense. So anyone wants to share a quote from their family, something that your mother or father said, and it didn't make a bit of sense to you then, but now as an adult, it makes sense? Can you think of something that your parents said? And here's the thing, you know. Oh, yes.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Okay, hindsight is 20/20.
I remember them telling me that.
And did it make sense to you?
No, I
then?
think, what are you talking about looking behind you all the time?
Yeah.
Hindsight is 20/20.
And so what does it mean now?
It means now that I'm old, I can look back and see, oh yeah, those were stupid things I was doing or not doing.
Yes.
So
some of your behaviors.
yeah, some of the things, the choice that I made.
Yeah.
The things that I did.
Yes, hindsight 20/20. Looking back. Okay, did you think of one?
Yes.
Okay.
My mom used to say, es por tu bien. It's for your like well-being.
Okay.
And
So when something happened, and did you question it?
yes.
Okay.
And basically it was like, you're gonna do this because it's good for you. And
Yes.
well, I don't want to. She's like, well, it's for your well-being. You
Yes.
It's good for you.
And here's the thing, your parents have been through these things. We don't ever want to think of our parents as, children or teenagers or having gone through some things, but they have. They have. So you think about some of the things that they have done, or some of the things that they have been through. That is why they can tell you, like, don't do that. Don't touch that stone. It's hot. Don't run across that street when the car is coming. And you would think, I'm not gonna listen. But have you ever done something and then you wish, like, oh man, I should have listened to them? And you beat yourself up and just like, they've been telling me this my entire life. And here I am as an adult, and I found myself doing something that I knew I was not supposed to do. And if you have a conscience, you might feel guilty about it. But some people don't have a conscience and they don't feel guilty about it. So your goals need to be specific, measurable, and action-oriented and/or attainable. So attainable also. So here's the deal. I talk to my students many times about, their high school experience. Tell me a little bit about your high school experience. And they'll say, well, I just really wanted to have fun. I just really wanted to have fun in high school. And especially my senior year, I took the easiest classes that I could. I didn't take any math after 10th grade because that's what my counselor said. I didn't need any math after 10th grade. So I didn't take any math. And so then they find themselves taking the ACT, and we use the ACT and our placement test to determine what math and English we're going to enroll you in. So what you don't want to happen is you get to college and find yourself in a situation where you're not ready for college-ready classes. You're not ready for them. Find yourself having to take remediation. There's nothing wrong with that. Many times though, however, it might mean that you may need to spend more time at HCC because you had to spend a semester taking a class that if you had paid attention in high school, then you would be ready for your college classes. So if you have brothers or sisters, tell them, and I know this is a difficult time for schools right now, but you do need to tell them that they will need math after 10th grade. Yeah, it sounds good, sounds real good, but you do need math after 10th grade, and English and science. Otherwise, you're not going to be ready for college. And you don't want to, waste time or money having to take remedial classes because you didn't take the classes that you needed. Okay, so SMAR, it needs to be realistic. Okay, it needs to be realistic. So if you know in high school that, let's just say in high school, C's and D's, you just hung around the CD mark. CD, 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 CD. Well, what happens, you can't get to college and say, oh, by the way, I'm gonna be a straight A student. No, it's not gonna happen. It's certainly not gonna happen that first semester, or maybe even the second semester, because there's so many remedial classes that you'll need to take to get yourself ready for college classes. So if the student sees this and tells you that they didn't pay any attention in high school, so they just kind of CD'd their way through. Well, I can tell you this, it's going to take a while for them to get up to where they need to be to take college classes. It doesn't mean they can't get there, it just might take a longer time for them to get there. So it needs to be realistic, and it also needs to be relevant. The other thing is it needs to be timely. Which means you can't say that you're going to get, you need to say, like with that B you're talking about, you need to say that you're going to pass with a B, but you also need to be saying in your mind that you're going to do that before a certain time. Don't just say, because what'll happen, you'll lose sight of it. If you say, I'm going to pass with a B and then don't think about it anymore until the end of class, and it's like, oh my goodness, the whole semester's gone and I lost sight of what I said I was going to do, which means timely, it means that you need to think about it all the time. Like, don't ever let it leave your mind, because if it leaves your mind, then you're going to clutter your brain with other things and you will have forgotten that you said this. So things that you say that you're going to do, you have to be mindful of them all the time. You can never lose sight of them. Never lose sight of them. If I say I'm going to get an A, if I say I'm going to get a B, it's something I need to be thinking about all the time. And it doesn't mean that you aren't supposed to have fun. Yes, of course we want you to have fun and relax. But to be able to pass your college classes, your recreation will have to be scheduled. So if your friends call you and say, party over here, and it's in the middle of the week, and you have class the next day, you need to be mindful of this, which is what you've told yourself. And you may need to say to them, I got to study. I'll see you all on the weekend. But here's the deal. Think about this. You were talking about your AA degree. That is 2 years. 2 years. And let's just say So 2 years, let's just say at 2 years, you say, okay, well, I think I have enough skills that, I'm just going to get a job. Well, that's 2 years that you have invested in your education. So we know a bachelor's degree is how many years? Okay, it should be 4 years. And if you get up to a master's, that's at least 6, right? And doctorate level is going to be at least 10, 8 to 10. Okay, 8 to 10 years. So think about that. So let's just say, so how far do you all plan to go? Okay, someone. Bachelor's, okay, so that's 4. So look at this mathematically. You got 4 years, okay? Okay. And how many years do you think you'll work? Until, like, how many years do you think you'll be in the workforce? So,
Like until retirement?
so you'll graduate from college and then you'll work for how many years do you think you might work?
40 to 50 years.
Okay, 40 to 50, and depending on when you start in your, okay, so let's just say 40 years. So look at that. And see that 4 years of education is going to prepare you for the rest of your work history. That's a minimal investment. A minimal investment. So that's why it is important that your years in school, you really need to give it your best that you can. And it is not uncommon anymore for young people to have 7 to 10 unique jobs before they retire. So that first job that you had once you graduated college is not going to be related to the job you have before you go into retirement. Usually it's not going to be related. Young people don't have a problem moving around and they don't have a problem changing jobs. So, but what this 4 years is going to do, it's going to prepare you for your future. It's going to prepare you for your future. You will either accept authority. How was that presentation? And I did share this with Ms. Paula. And the person said, you will either respect authority here or there. So I'm sitting there, I'm taking notes and thinking, what the heck is he talking about? Then he went on to explain, because he worked at in the prison system. So what he talked about was learning to respect authority. When you are in the classroom, and when you walk into this classroom and you know how to behave, that means that you are respecting the authority in that classroom. So you will either respect authority here in a free environment or in a not so free environment, which of course is in prison. So you have to learn to respect authority. If you don't learn to respect authority, like I had some students in my class that, well, I just want to be able to do whatever I want to do. And I don't want anybody to have to tell me, I don't want anybody to tell me anything. And I said, okay, so we got this. So we were standing outside and I said, okay, well, we have these lights out here. So the lights, green, red, caution, all that. So you just decide on a given day. So your light is red and you just decide you're not going to stop. You're just going to run it. What's not happening? Probably. And somebody could possibly die. There's a reason we have rules. There's a reason. We may not always understand them, but there is a reason. In high school, did you feel like there was a rule for everything? Yes. In high school, how is that a rule? I was just, well, how is this t-shirt offensive? How is this? Why is it I can't wear my Daisy Dukes up to my behind showing my butt cheek? Why did I do that? Why? It's disruptive. It's disruptive. But you don't want to fall and scoot on the sidewalk, and skin on your hips gone because it's left on the sidewalk. So, you don't want to do that. So you want to think, But I told my daughter called me one day and she said, Mom, I believe there's a rule for everything. And I said, well, think about this. There's a rule because someone has done that. Someone did that. Someone came to class with a crazy t-shirt on. Or they had on a beater or breast hanging out. You know, something crazy. Something crazy. So think about those things. Think about, did you all see the Super Bowl? Did y'all watch any of the Super Bowl? What about the mask? What was the significance of that? Did anybody?
Yeah, so the weekend, like a year ago, 2 years ago, went to a big party with that on, and people were talking. He wanted people to believe he had surgery. So then he came out with a new music video recently with him in a fake facial, like plastic surgery. And turns out it was fake. So it's just kind of like just saying that you need to stop believing what the news is. Like you need to just not fake talk about people behind their back. So he just did that. And I guess he put it in his evidence.
Oh, okay. Well, I said when I saw it, I thought, I just got nervous. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, somebody's gonna rob something. They're gonna have something on like that. And you won't be able to tell who the heck. Although when you got these, you really can't tell much anyway.
Yeah.
But I wondered when I saw that, I thought, what is the significance of that?
Yeah, he wanted to build up to his music video and his new
And what was his name?
The Weeknd.
That is his name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I think, he's been leading up to this for a good while.
Okay.
But I thought it worked out perfect because he's always been wearing these different like nose patches and different things all over his face. And then I think what happened, since we had to wear masks, he decided, hey, let's go ahead and just use those bandages with masks because it ties into the thing that he's doing.
Well, that was very interesting.
I think a lot of people that don't know The Weeknd were real confused.
I was one.
I saw that on my Facebook feed.
I was one.
All the old people like, what was going on?
Yes. I had to do some research too. Like, okay, I'm lost here.
Yeah.
Did Amanda Gorman? Did she do a porn? They had said she was going to do it. The one that's.
I didn't see it.
I didn't either. Did anybody see Amanda Gorman, the poet?
I didn't see her on there.
She was on.
She was right at the beginning.
Okay, well, I must have been.
Before the game started. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like 5:15.
Okay.
And I missed that.
Okay, I'll have to see that. Okay, all right, so keep those things in mind when we're talking about SMART goals. Also, think about when you are tutoring someone, Carl Rogers talks about unconditional positive regard. And unconditional positive regard means when that person comes to you, you meet that person wherever they are. Wherever they are. Don't pass judgments on that person, but it's unconditional positive regard, meaning you are going to respect and honor that person. You're not gonna be thinking in your mind these judgments about them because they could be judging you also. So unconditional positive regard means that wherever you are, when they come to you, whatever they are, wherever they are, whatever state they're in, respect and honor that. Respect and honor that. And we all know how to get to know people. You just tell them who you are and how may I help you? And please don't have, has anyone ever said to you, what do you need? Well, I need you to be kind to me. That's what I need. What do you need? I need you to be kind to me. And think about this. You all are paid to help them. You paid to help them. Nobody likes to go into any establishment, and especially when you're paying and you're being mistreated. Nobody wants that. And you could, the individuals that you meet could be longtime friends. We just never know. And this world is so small. It is so very, very small. But unconditional positive regard by Carl Rogers is wherever that person is, that's where you meet them. That's where you meet them. So where are you all from? I'm just gonna ask, where are you from?
I'm from Grand Rapids.
You're from Hush?
Small town, Conway Springs.
Is that Kansas?
Yep.
Okay, Conway Springs, okay, all right. Okay, Kansas, small town Kansas, okay. Partridge.
Miles away from that.
Okay, small, okay, all right. Okay, and you're from Scott City, okay, and where are you from?
Oklahoma.
Okay, which, small or?
Yeah, it's a small town in
Okay.
the Panhandle.
Okay, all right, and you?
Montezuma.
And that is?
Small town in Kansas.
In Kansas, okay,
Little town outside of Dodge City.
okay, so all Kansas? Wow, wonderful, which means that you are going to have a very different perspective from those from urban areas. There may be things that they say. I work with them in the summer, and I mean, I'm like reading that urban dictionary. Like, okay, all right, because I wanna know what they're talking about. So I'm reading the urban dictionary, so I understand what they're talking about. So just keep in mind, you're from a small town.
Oh, Ms.
And-
Carson,
Yes,
I have something about the Urban Dictionary.
okay.
They made a rule at my house, I was not allowed to look at their dictionary.
Oh, okay.
It's just because I was finding out what they were talking about.
Oh, yeah, they want the things to be secret.
Yes. So I don't think it hurts. Sometimes you're surprised when what you find, but.
And here's the thing, you can use the urban dictionary, you can talk to Miss Paula, you can talk to me. There may be things that they'll say, you're like, what was that? Let me find it, wait a minute, what was that, what you call that? And I'm looking because I don't know, because I'm that far removed from that generation that I have to do, will probably have to do some of the same things that you all have to do because I don't know. But, there's a reason for education. And that's so that we get to know each other and we want to expand our horizons. You may not be in your little small town the rest of your life. You don't know where you're going to be. But you do need to know how to get along with people. That's important. That is an extremely important skill, extremely important skill. So once you know how to do that. So do you all have any questions about SMART goals? About SMART goals or how you approach someone when they come to you for tutoring? Oh, and for heaven's sakes, please don't be on your phone when you're supposed to be tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't do that. It is so disrespectful. And one of the things I have in my class, the first 5 minutes of class, I'm not as hard about it as most instructors because I had to try to figure out how can I reach my students with respect to their phone and not disrespect them, because their phone is important to them. So what I do in my class, I give my students 5 minutes before class starts. And I said, take out your phone. Anybody you need to text, do it now. Do it now. I've given you 5 minutes to do it. Anyone, I don't care who you need to, but 5 minutes to do it. Because once I start the lecture, I don't want you on your phone. And I don't take it like some instructor will take it and put it in a basket or something. I always wonder how, and to me, all the phones look alike. Like, what if someone has a real cheap phone and someone has an expensive phone, and then they come through, somebody takes the expensive phone? I don't know. It's just me. I just wouldn't want to be responsible for someone's phone because I know it's like an appendage of that individual. So I would never do that. But you do want to think about how important it is when you start to tutor. That person needs your undivided attention. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I'm sure Miss Paula and Miss Leanna will tell you all that. It's just disrespectful. It's disrespectful for you to be on your phone when you're supposed to be working. So just kind of keep that in mind. And that person comes first. When you're working with them, they come first. And you also might try to understand that they may not know anything about your little small towns or you. And so you all know the difference between prejudice and discrimination. Do you know what it means when we're talking about prejudice and discrimination? Do we think we know?
So like prejudice being like not necessarily that you've dealt with people, like you're putting people in a category and judging them even if you haven't necessarily met them before.
Prejudice. Okay, so let's just say all of you are from Kansas. And some of you said, yes, you hear that a little bit of Southern twang in my voice. Okay, so let's just say I walked into that, Brandon, I saw you all upstairs, but let's just say you didn't know me at all. I walked into this room. Okay, so I walk into the room, I'm rather loud. I say hello, I make everybody say hello. Some of you might have never been around a Black person. Any of you, were there Blacks in your schools or in your community? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yes, a few, one or two for you, a few?
Like,
Oklahoma, maybe more.
a few, yeah.
Okay, so two of yours, what about yours? Any people of color? Any Black, anybody look like me? What about you?
Yeah, I have a cousin.
Okay, all right, what about you? Anybody look like me in your community?
Just one.
Just one, what about you?
Okay, one or two in elementary school.
In elementary school, okay, you?
Yeah, like very few people.
Very few, okay. All right, so we're talking about prejudice right now. So I walk into this room, I'm loud, I'm talking, and you're thinking, oh my God, what is that? What? Who is that? She's loud. Is she gonna hurt me? What is she gonna do? And I assure you, white people, not on my, I don't hate white people, so you don't have to worry about that. So I don't do things like that. But if you were prejudiced, I'd walk in and you would immediately think something negative, or maybe something you saw on TV, which might have absolutely nothing to do with me. But if you prejudging. So you prejudge like, okay, she couldn't possibly know anything. She couldn't possibly have anything to say because she walked in here and she was loud and she was a Black woman. She couldn't possibly have anything to say. So that's when you prejudge. You have prejudged me. You don't know how many master's degrees I have. You don't know that my husband is Dr. Parson. You don't know that my children are well educated. You don't know that, and you don't care. All you know is what you saw. You saw a loud Black woman that walked into this room. And all of a sudden you had this idea about who she is. But you don't know me. So you prejudged me. But you might manage to stay in the chair long enough because you don't want to be embarrassed to get up and walk out. So you got Miss Paula here, you know she's watching. You have Miss Leanna here, you know they're watching. So, maybe I need to stay in my seat. Now, if you were bold enough to get up and walk out, that's when you call it discrimination. So prejudice is the thought process, the thoughts that you might have about me. Discrimination is the act. Are you acting upon it? You might, so if you got up and walked out, she has nothing to say to me. Because I'm looking at her, she doesn't know anything. I'm gonna walk out. As you walk, you need to be thinking, I'm discriminating. Every step, I'm discriminating. I thought it, then I acted upon it. That's what it is. Like if you're walking down the sidewalk here and you see a group of big student athletes and you get scared and you move over, like, oh, geez. All right, again, you might have judged them. They might not even see you, but you might have judged them. And I'm not saying, don't keep yourself safe. I mean, come on, of course you want to be safe. I mean, use some common sense, please. But you do need to kind of think about that because sometimes we do things and we don't even think about it. Like, wait, why did I walk across the street? Why did I go on the other side of the street? It could be something you read, could be something you heard, could be something that you actually saw on TV. So we have to think about those things. And let me tell you something about some of the students that you are going to work with. You can try to hide it. They can read you like a book. Ms. Paul and I talk about that street knowledge that they have.
Yes.
They can outthink us by leaps and bounds. I mean, they'll think stuff, we're like, wait, what? Wait, who, what?
Yes.
Because they've lived in that environment where to keep themselves safe, they had to read people.
Yes.
They had to read them and you can walk a certain way and they, or look at them a certain way, they read you just like that.
And I think sometimes, I don't think, as I can speak for Caucasian, as a Caucasian, we haven't been in survival mode. So we can just kind of walk around blindly all day long. Well, I don't, at least, I never really felt like I needed to read people. You know, because I think I was always safe. I was always in a safe environment. And if I bumped into something that wasn't safe, it was like, oh, here we go. But the majority of the young men that we're working with as athletes have been raised in survival mode. It takes them that long to reach you, that long. And if you have the feelings of superiority, fear, prejudice, what are those things? It takes them that long to recognize it. And for the longest time, I didn't know. They would say, like, you know, she's racist or they're racist or this. And I'm like, how would you know? How would you possibly know that? You've just been around them. But working and living so long in the environment that I have, I can now pick it up as well. So now when they come to me and tell me that, I never question them because I know they're really telling me the truth. But the thing that's so beautiful about them is that most of them are so understanding. They say, I know they've never been around people like me. I know they have not interacted with people like me. And so they always have such grace. You know, most all of the young people I work with have such grace and say, but when she gets to know me, she'll see that I'm not scary. I had one young man. Is it okay if I?
Sure, go ahead.
I had one young man, he was 6'8" and his hands were huge, the biggest hands I've ever seen, and he wore size like 18 shoes. And he was in one day taking a test, and a young girl came in from a little town somewhere, I'm not sure, you know, and I'm sure it was like the first time that she had walked in the building and been standing by somebody that was huge and black and somewhat imposing. And she walked in and you could tell she just like froze. It was the first day on campus. She just absolutely froze. And she thought, oh my gosh, you're huge. You're just huge. And she was tiny. She's like, you're just huge. And I could tell there was more going through her mind than you're just huge. And then she's like, and you're scary. And, you can just tell it was coming out of her. And I could feel that he was just not knowing what to do because he was standing up to leave. She was coming in. And so he was so sweet. He went like this and he bent down like this. So he was like close to her face. And he said, you know, just because I'm really tall does not mean that I'm scary. And I thought, it just broke my heart because I thought, here he's doing everything to make her not feel afraid. So I said, just look at his shoes. And she looked down at his shoes. And I said, you could almost sit in his shoe. You know? Then I said, put your hand up. And so, you know, he put his hand up and she put her hand up and put it in her hand fit right here. And I said, I'll tell you, if you ever need anybody on campus to watch over you or protect you, all you have to do is just call on him. And you could just see her fear and her anxiety just kind of melt away. And she said, oh yeah, I'll recognize you when I see you on campus.
And that guy that knew her would always be there to protect her.
Yes. And so, you know, I think sometimes that's what I love about college life is because everybody's growing in so many different ways.
Yes.
Not just academically, but socially.
So we've said all these things, but it still means that you need to use common sense. So we're not saying just accept everybody and be up in their face and in their lives and all of that, because I'm sure Ms. Paula will tell you all that she wants professional tutoring done. She wants you all here. Like, don't ever meet them in their dorm room, in their apartments, you know, anything like that. This is a safe place. So you need to be here. So don't get talked into anything like that because Ms. Paula's not gonna pay you to be off campus.
Yes.
Is that right, Ms. Paula?
That's
To
right.
be off campus tutoring someone.
Well, and also, you know, like not to get talked into.
Yes.
Or don't you talk them into.
Yeah.
Because we've had the opposite.
Oh, okay,
too. Like,
okay.
do not talk the guys that are coming to your dorm room.
And it's what's important, what we all want all of you to know at Hutchinson Community College, what we want is for all of you to be safe. Should be a safe environment for all of you. And if anything should have, you need to, let Ms. Paula know. I mean, don't be afraid to say, since she works with them, she doesn't want to hear. Oh, she's a professional, I can tell you that. And she does not play. So anything that happens, that maybe you misread, or maybe they misread, again, it needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about because we could be on different pages. All of us could be on different pages. Okay, so let's review. What about our goals? What are they? They have to be what? Okay, did I get somebody to say specific? Okay, they need to be what?
Specific.
Okay, all right. And they need to be what?
Measurable.
So you need to have some way in which you can measure it. Okay, you can quantify it. What else?
Action points.
But don't just say I'm gonna get an A and then not move. You gotta do something, okay? And it has to be what?
Realistic.
Realistic. Think about that. If you, like I said, if you CD your way through high school and you say, oh, by the way, when I get to college, I want to make all A's. Oh, I don't know. It might not happen, or it might not happen the first year. Okay. All right. Timely. Put some time on it. So you want to have this grade by a certain time, but you got to have short-term goals along the way. Every test is a short-term goal. So you get to your long-term goal in the semester of that grade. So just keep in mind, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about goals. And again, as Ms. Paula said, talk to the students about their goals. If a student says, I had a student one year said, Ms. Parson, all I want to do is just get a D. I'm like, oh, what? A D? I said, we'll get you anywhere. Our Regents schools do not accept most four-year schools, D1s don't accept Ds. You've just wasted your time and your money. So I would encourage them to, at least above a C. At least above a C. Because, that's what you all have to have that, right? Do you all in the dorm? All of you? No, you're not in the dorm? Okay. Who's in the dorm? And you're not. Okay. Okay, if you're not in the dorm, this is what I do in my office. Because one of my students is not in the dorm. I encourage her to be around students who are in the dorm, not go to the dorm, but in the dorm, so she can find out what's going on campus. Because if you just come to campus and you just leave, there could be a lot of things that, student organizations and things like that, and you need to get involved in student organizations and things of that nature, okay? So kind of keep that in mind. But what we want is for you all to be safe. We want everybody to be safe, and we want you to be good at what you do. Think about, and anytime you teach someone something, it only anchors it further in your mind what it is. So it helps you. So whatever it is, the more times you repeat it, the more it's anchored in your mind. So the more you're going to retain that information. Isn't that true? Mm-hmm. The more you say it, the more you're going to retain it. Okay? Do y'all have any questions of me? Do y'all remember my name? Ms. Parsons. And why did you call me Ms. Parsons?
That's respectful.
Yeah. See, in Louisiana, anyone above 21, like in Louisiana, I would be Miss Carolyn. That's how they, and Miss Paula. That's what the students call her, Miss Paula. They usually don't call her Miss Freeman, they call her Miss Paula. So that's out of respect. That's in the South. That's one of the things that they do. So I would be Miss Carolyn, and she's Miss Paula, and he would be Mr. Brad. So not the last name, but the first name, Miss Carolyn, Miss Paula, Mr. Brad. Thank you all for having me. So if you see me on campus, what should you do? At least say what? Hello. How many times y'all have students that I know and they walk, you? I'm like, wait, hey, don't I know you? Hello. Hello, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for having me. I really appreciate that. And I want you all to have a great year. Come by and see me sometime. I'm in the Student Success Center. I'm an academic advisor. Okay, you all take it easy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. And I think we're going to
We are ready for supper, so come get the pizza while it's still hot.
Okay.
You got kind of cold coming into my car.
Right, some of the resources on campus. And I don't know if you have all met Miss Rita, but she works down here in the evening, same time I do. And she is a wonderful resource. And I tell the football players, she loves research like you like football.
It's true, and I never stop.
So I wanted her to just kind of, the title of her little presentation I put was like, what's up downstairs? So she's gonna give you some information about what you can use and what the students can, you can refer students to use.
Well, this is the best job anybody would ever want. To me, it is, because you can get to the computers, you get to magazines, and you get to the books, and you can get, you can go anywhere. But when I think of this, what's up downstairs, I think, how can we, the library, because the library is only downstairs, help you guys? And we have a good staff. They sometimes know more than I do. But if somebody can't answer your question, we should give you an alternative, or we can ask somebody else. We can get, like if the book isn't here, we can go on other libraries and look for it there. We can go interlibrary loan and they'll send it to us. It takes about 7 days. Sometimes it takes 3, so go figure. The other thing is the staff can help you find credible sources for speeches, research projects, class assignments. And these credible sources are books, ebooks, DVDs, and they're all on the online catalog. Do you know how to get to the online catalog? If it's in-house, if it's right here, you just go into Dragon Zone and you get right to it. But if you're off base, off campus, you can still just go to Dragon Zone and just follow it down. It's usually library sources. But you can do that so on or off base or campus. But you can, when you find these online databases, that's the online catalog with the books and that. You can check them out, but you can put a hold on them. Then when you come into, if you come in, you can just pick them up, check them out. And you can also renew one once and listen. All we want, if it's overdue, don't worry about it. I'm serious. Just bring the book back. I've had a kid that brought it back and it was over a year late. But you know what? I was so happy to get the book back. I just waved the fine. That doesn't make any difference. Just bring the books of the source, the books or whatever it is back. Now the other one, we've got the online catalog, which is your books, magazines, and ebooks. And ebooks are easy. You just keep pushing at it. You just go online and it pops up, and then you can turn the page by page. It's just a picture of the book, page by page. The other source is the online databases. Now, this is where you're going to have articles, journals, newspapers, magazines and there's so many of them. We have over 100 databases. So a staff can help you, show you how to get into it. It's usually, most of the stuff is on EBSCOhost. And on EBSCOhost, you can go into it and just keep getting into it, continue, and then you can limit it. So you can limit it to full text, which is usually what students want or require for an exam, for a paper. Or you can get a publication date if you want current sources. Or you can, if you just want an abstract, you can get that. And you can do a Boolean search where you have 2 different words that you combine. So you can narrow it down, and we have different filters to help. And the same thing, I think, with the book, if we don't have the article here, you can do an interlibrary loan. And you can usually, it's just to print what it is that you want. If you have that, write it down. And then we can go to another library to get that. Also, we have access to the Kansas State Library. That has a lot more than we do. And sometimes I'll look there to see if they have that. And you can get get on there also. Then there's, I'm trying to think, supplemental materials for all the courses. And this is what I wasn't really aware of until I started playing around with it. But we have Manga Math. Have you ever heard of that?
Manga?
No, yeah, is that how? See,
Yeah.
I don't even, I thought it was like mango or something, but it's graphic design, graphics.
Graphic novel style.
Exactly, yeah. And they're right in front. All of the graphic novels are right in front, but they also have how to learn math through these cartoons like the Japanese and stuff like that. And what's the other one? Oh, we have the Kahan Academy and Purple Math. Now, I've heard of Khan. I was playing around doing percentages and I didn't do very well. But it shows you step by step. And then we have the writing guides for reading, spelling, grammar, and we have the MOOC, Massive Open Line online courses. And there have lots of, there's all kinds for everything. The other thing that we have available is the reserve items. Now, the instructors put these materials on reserve, and the reserve is in the room in the back. And usually they're limited to either probably 2 hours or for a day or a week. But they are from the instructor. And so he'll put, but we also have materials like the AP models, microscopes, the slides, and the spare textbooks and movies that are shown in class, DVDs, that. But if the text is, there's a spare textbook, if it's in there, we'll get it for you because you'll ask for it. And we'll ask, who's the instructor, what the course is, and then I'll bring it out to you. Now, if you only are working with one chapter, what you need to do is just copy it, because printing the copy is free. The print, we give you a number and you can copy the whole chapter, or you can check it out. But it's on reserve. It's not ours, really, some of that stuff. It's the instructor, so you need to be really careful with it and bring it back. So, but I think it is free printing, which is really good for that, and you can do that. The best thing that I think we have, if we don't have it, the textbook, ask Emily or just tell me that we don't have it. We'd like the teacher to get an extra copy of the textbook. And then I leave that on the desk of the person who put me that's in charge of the library. And we can get it. We can have her ask the instructor to get an extra copy. And then the best thing is that we have these studies places. We have all the tables down there. We have the computers here. And then we have the circle where we have chairs and desks. And then around the edge here, there's also desks. So there's quiet, one-on-one space for you to have the students and use to study, which is the best, I think. For checkout, I just was going to say, I think I'm the only one that can fax. So if you need a fax, just come down and it's $1 a page. And we can also send it to your email, which is free. So if you need something that you want scanned and sent to you, email, I can do that.
I can also do that in the mornings if somebody's here needing something scanned and emailed to them.
Yeah, so it's.
And I do it in the evening after you're gone.
We're covered. That's what we have to do. Let's see. I've got a phone number here if you want that. But the main thing I think is to learn how to use the Dragon Zone, because that way you can get into the online and the databases. And with over 100, they're really fascinating. Do you have any questions? I'm gonna give you the phone number, and it's just the main one here, and that's 665-3547. And the library closes at 9, but if somebody is studying, or if you are, and you still need it, I will stay a little. But that, you guys do that. Okay, that's.
Well, thank you so much. And I want you guys to really encourage the people that you're working with to utilize this area downstairs and to utilize this reading, because nothing makes your day more. And I had the sweetest thing. One of the baseball players was wanting to write a paper on Jackie Robinson. And I said, well, let's go downstairs. And it's like, no. I'm like, no. And I just took him by the hand and brought him down here. I said, Miss Rita, he needs some information on Jackie Robinson. And she just pulled open a drawer. She's like, I just ran this off yesterday. And she pulled out this paper and he could use it for his research paper. And it was perfect. So then I saw him go upstairs and he was telling the other guy, you need to go downstairs. That lady has everything down there. So yeah, I just encourage you to use what we have, especially in this building. Okay, anybody have any questions about today? No. Okay, all right. Fred, did you have anything?
No, thank you everybody for coming. And I think that's all we have, unless Leanna, do you have anything?
No, just going to open it up. Has anybody had a situation where you've been tutoring this semester and you weren't sure how to handle something? Is there anything that you want to address or talk over? All right. Well, just know if something does come up, you can talk with any of us, Paras or Brad. We will be happy to help you work through any problems that you might be having. All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it and get back to tutoring.
Thank you.